I'm Allendale's Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin with a look at your midday weather update. Let's take a look at action here as we survey things across the continental United States. First of all, the latest surface map that is out there isn't really all that inspiring. High pressure sits southwest of the Quad Cities. To the south edge of that, we're seeing some moisture out of eastern Oklahoma, northeast Texas, across Arkansas. Basically, this is something that's just firing off in the cooler air that's down there. This action will track eastward across the northern parts of Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, through Tennessee and southern Kentucky. May actually end up being something kind of significant once it gets to the coastal Carolina areas, maybe try and slide up the east part of the coast as well. We'll have to see. On the backside, we're seeing south winds try to crank up, but you know what? They're not having much effect so far today. We'll see those south winds bump temperatures a little bit as we head toward midweek across the plains, only to be hammered back down by another Arctic blast that comes in a little bit later this week. So this week doesn't really feature a lot of precipitation, just a couple of waves of cold air across the country as a whole. However, things get real interesting as we go into and through this weekend. Looking at some significant moisture trying to work its way out of the plains and into the Corn Belt. The moisture is going to be coming with warm air surging ahead of the low and cold air surging down behind it. So we're going to be seeing a scenario here where places like the eastern part of the Corn Belt, Illinois, or rather eastern Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, the Ohio Valley, Kentucky, Tennessee, all getting rain and potentially heavy rain. But the big question mark is, what do we see on the backside? The European model actually trying to put in some heavy snows across parts of Iowa, back into northwestern Missouri, up into Wisconsin, southern Minnesota. So it could be a real interesting event, and there's plenty of moisture there. The European model putting out anywhere from 0.5 to 1.5 inches of liquid equivalent. So I'll tell you right now, if we were to see all snow develop somewhere in there or heavy snows, it could be real interesting. So that's what we're looking at, and that's the quandary that we find ourselves in this weekend. Cold air comes in off and on through next week as well, but as we get toward the end of next week, so toward the end of the first full week of March, we are going to be seeing, I think, a push toward overall warming, overall temperature moderation across the country. It's going to take its own sweet time. So, for example, next Friday the 6th, it still looks pretty darn cold all the way down to I-40. But then we really start to see the temperatures move up through the 7th, the 8th, the 9th in there. And it's not just one model saying it. All are saying that we should start to see some moderating temperatures by mid-March. Precipitation pattern with the warmer air should calm down just a little bit. Looks like a southern track of action in the meantime will be the most significant. The deep south into the Carolinas, back into Texas and southern parts of the hard red winter wheat belt. That looks to be the area that sees the best precipitation from, we'll say, March the 6th and 7th on through the 11th and 12th until the warm air is able to surge northward. Also, as that warm air comes over the rest of the country, we will see more frontal action slamming into the Pacific Northwest and California in general. So we're not going to be without moisture trying to come in. We'll just have to see if it can hold together as it crosses the Rockies. International weather, not looking too bad in South America here this week. A little bit of a break in the action, seeing lesser rain totals, and a lot of it hit and miss. So we think we should be able to see some progression, or at least better progression, in harvest and maybe second crop corn planting over key Brazil areas. Keeping a very close eye on cooler than normal temperatures over Argentina. Have one strong high pressure dome moving out that's kept things cool here the past few days and will again tomorrow. And then a secondary high comes in after this next front, and it looks even cooler than the first, even stronger than the first. So while we are seeing some concern about parts of Buenos Aires province, southern Cordoba maybe missing out on rains here this week, and maybe some expansion of dryness depending on who you talk to there, generally speaking, it's happening with cooler than normal temps, and in some cases much cooler than normal temps over Buenos Aires province at least. So I think we're probably mitigating the dryness just a little bit. Still looking at dry air parking over parts of the former Soviet Union and Russia. Maybe not making super big headlines right now, but it is drier there and will be in the days ahead. Also look for well above normal temperatures starting this week and going on through next. They're not going to be anywhere close to where they should be in terms of high temperatures. They're going to be well above it. And so we'll see whether that has any impact on evaporation rates, and maybe it'll help trigger a little more precipitation. We'll have to see. That's the way things are stacking up at midday. If you've got any questions on the weather, give us a call at Allendale. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin.